إني ألقى الإيناس في صومي وصلاتي ودعائي للرحمن وجميع الطاعات.
Alright, so the big yet irrelevant and pointless question, does God exist? And I find this question to be somewhat hypocritical, because disproving the existence of God comes from the same logic as disproving the existence of man. Now, if someone came to you and tried to convince you that they don't exist, they said, I'm actually on Mars and I have these Martians that have plugged me into the Matrix, or they have these probes in my head and they're making me think all of these crazy things. What do you think of this guy? You think this guy's completely lost it? This guy needs to seek some medical help. He needs to go to the loony bin, whatever it may be. You have to stay away from the guy. The whole shebang. So why don't we think the same way when someone questions the existence of God? Now, people attempt to prove their own existence by something called empiricism. And that is by the belief that senses are like an absolute truth. So if you can see it, you can hear it, touch it, smell it, hear it, all of these sort of things, taste it, it exists. So they say, I can see, I can hear, therefore I exist. But what about your dreams? I mean, in a dream, can't you see, hear, sometimes taste? Or what about when someone's in the desert and they have a hallucination? If they're incredibly thirsty and it's very, very hot, they begin to see these streams of water. Does the water actually exist? Did the dream actually take place? Obviously not. We don't need to sit there questioning it. So if you're going to attempt to prove your existence by empiricism, by the senses, then you have to either now say that the dreams or that the hallucinations actually took place and was actually existent, or that dreams didn't actually take place and the hallucination wasn't actually existent, the water that is, and so therefore you can't be using senses to prove your existence, because you'd find yourself contradicting yourself. Now there's many philosophers who have spent, for the most part, the majority of their lives attempting to prove the existence of man. And for the most part, they cannot do so. In fact, the most logical answer that they've come towards proving the existence of man is the quote by René Descartes in his book, The Meditations, where he says, I think, therefore I am. Now let me tell you the contradiction in this statement. If you know anything about the world of mathematics and proof by induction, attempting to prove something, for example, the existence in this case, it's a complete no-no to begin with an assumption that you already exist. I'll tell you what I mean. I think, therefore I am. You've begun the statement with I. I assumes existence. So you cannot prove existence whilst also assuming that you exist. It's contradictory. Now, does that mean that we don't exist? Does that mean that you, your mother, father, brother, sister, don't exist? Of course not. Of course you exist. I exist. We exist. But we don't need to spend any time into these completely trivial matters, because it's not logical to do so. It's self-evident that me and you and him and her, they exist. I mean, you don't need to spend any time in that point. Now, you probably didn't even question your own existence until this video. And if you did beforehand, you probably just would have tried to just get rid of it like that. Just thought it's a stupid thought. And the reason for that is because it's illogical. And the same thing would have happened for the existence of God if you didn't get affected by this disease of atheism. And so why don't you question your own existence? And why do you question the existence of God? Now, the only way that anything makes sense, and I'll wrap up with this, the only way that anything makes sense is through the belief that you, the viewer of this video, exist. And if you take that belief away, then anything ceases to have any value or meaning. Now, similarly, the only way that anything has any value or meaning is through the existence of God. And if you take that belief away, then absolutely everything and anything becomes completely irrelevant and meaningless. So you have two options. You've got two options. You either believe that God exists, and as a result of that, of course, man would exist, or you question your own existence. Now, which one for you is more logical?